In this time of the pandemic, where COVID-19 has crippled the world economies, where our government has ordered nationwide shutdown, where hospitals are overwhelmed.
Shortly after, the unthinkable happened.
I was literally stunned and frozen.
And their religious leaders are proven to be frauds. Where do you go to get all your questions answered and to hear what God has to say about this matter? You can only find the answers in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under Commanding General YAHANNA. We give you scriptural breakdowns of world events and the up and coming world war. We will show you in the Bible where the children of Israel, who are the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans today, would suffer slavery in Jamaica, Caribbean, North, Central, and South America, and other parts of the world. We will show you in the Bible where God said He would send plagues upon the earth before He frees people from this captivity.
The World Health Organization has declared coronavirus a global pandemic.
We will give you the true teaching of the Bible, precept upon precept. To learn more, subscribe today and call the number in the description for I.S.U.P.K. Jamaica. Shalom. Shalom, Yahweh Shalom, Shai Barakatam. This is the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, started at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. I.S.U.P.K. is run today by Commanding General YAHANNA, the man of the rank and the authority to be the leader of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans at this, and then this entire region is the Americas. Blacks, Hispanics, and Natives at this time. Welcome to our Sunday afternoon scripture breakdown class. Yahweh Basham Yahweh Brakata to the brothers, Yahweh Shama Alatan Basham Yahweh to the sisters. Alright, we're in the feast of dedication. Still in the Akarnaka period. Alright. Let's see who's gonna join us today. Alright, now Trooper. Joining us from, I think, Georgia, Albany, Georgia. Welcome. All right. Now, the feast of dedication, or what we call a Hanukkah, was really established in a time when the Grecians overthrew us in Jerusalem. The Grecians, how you put it now? We became a colony of the Grecians. Now, when it comes to us and the Most High's laws, we cannot, just like what Christ said, a man can serve two masters. We can't be serving under a next nation and serving God. That's never really happened in the scriptures. Even in the time when Christ came, when we were under the Romans, well, Christ brought that out. Christ said that you can't save mama and mama. They can't serve two masters. Right? So that was a period in time when we were serving the Grecians in the time of when the I.S.U.P.K came about, and our temple was laid waste, and then the Most High raised up some brothers, some priests, well, brothers from the priesthood, from the tribe of Levi, who became warriors and had to take back Jerusalem and Judea by force, and repair the temple, or if you want to rebuild the temple. And by rebuilding the temple, then they had to rededicate the temple. They had to change the altar stones because they had sacrificed pigs on it. So we had to remove them from out the temple. And hence the period became known as YAHANNA, or the rededication of the temple. And there is one story which are several stories in Second Maccabees, but we're looking at one today which kind of show that the Most High was with us after the rededication of the temple. How you mirror that to today now? Today now, majority of us, 12 tribes, yeah, all of us is under the realm of the Americans. Yeah. Known as Babylon today. But it still is Esau's generations. So what you find now is being under the American. We're not in the land where we can rebuild the temple, but Christ don't show that He is the light, He is the truth, He is the way. So what we need to do now is take up the cross, take up the script, the laws, follow Christ. Christ did keep the laws. We have Christians today telling, oh, the laws can't save you, blah, blah, blah. We have never said that the laws go and save you. But guess what? The laws could save you from COVID. The laws could save you from a lot of the atrocities that our people face today. Right? Many of our people are victims of gang war. Not that they become not so much as a bystander, but they get involved in gang war. They get involved. Some are sucked into it, are drawn into it. Right? Many of our people, look at abortion, the rate of abortion among our people. This mirrors the time of Egypt, when we were in Egypt in Moses' time. But today now, as a female, you can make a choice not to abort your child. Oppression left, right, and center. So when we tell people that the law, follow the laws help a great deal in getting you through these oppression and getting God on your side. Because in the end, it's those that are sealed by the law of the Most High, the 144,000, that Christ will appear to defend. Right? So when we say follow the laws, we're not talking about, following the laws as opposed to Christ. No. Follow the laws and follow Christ. We the truth here know that by following the laws, you're actually following Christ. Because Christ did explain to us the laws. Proper way to keep the Sabbath. Right? The proper way to keep the Sabbath, the proper way to keep the laws in general. Alright, we're jumping right into some scriptures. Second Maccabees chapter 1. Right, so in this time of Maccabees now, these brothers, everything had appeared to gone back on track, really. And then you have there is still those among us who is, well, today we say sell out, but the Bible says men of Belial, evil men. But, there are those who always want to bring us back to the oppressor. There are those who always want to put us back in the oppressor's reign and the oppressor's rule. All right, Second Maccabees 1 and verse 1. Reading from 1. The brethren, the Jews that be at Jerusalem and in the land of Judea, wish unto the brethren, the Jews that are throughout Egypt, health and peace. Right, so the brethren at Jerusalem wrote to the brethren that were throughout Egypt, wrote to them, beginning by wishing them health and peace. Now, if you're following this war, Egypt is actually next door to the land, Yeah, because Gaza can exit at the Rafah crossing right into Egypt. So many times when atrocities take us in that land, nations invade us and things, we flee into the actual land of Egypt. On the other side you have Jordan. So it depends which side you go, so you flee either way. That is Gaza, if you are in Gaza. So many of us, we always turn to Egypt while in that land to find succor. God be gracious unto you, and remember his covenant that he made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, his faithful servants. Everywhere in the scriptures mentions the fathers. They talk about the Most High making this covenant with the fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You know, most times, most Christians which are not of Jacob will tell you, will just stop at Abraham. And there's Abraham, Isaac. We're all seed of Abraham because they know they are not seed of Jacob. And those who are not and still want to say Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they say, by faith and by the Spirit, we are of the seed of Jacob. Yeah. How can that be? You either are or you are not. That's the way it is. And give you all an heart to serve him. That's what our people need, even unto today. An heart to serve the Most High God. And to do his will with a good courage and a willing mind. And open your heart, verse 4, open your hearts in his law and commandments and send you peace. 5. And hear your prayers and be at one with you and never forsake you in time of trouble. Yeah, that's what we ask for today. You know, trust me, we are in time of trouble today. I mean, here in Jamaica now, this battle that the government is preparing to open up with what they call crime, tackling the monster of crime. You hear some ministers say, oh, crime is not the monster, right? So we do today require that the Most High be with us in this time of trouble. Because you're going to be hearing more and more how much of our young men being gunned down by gangs and by the law as well. Right? But is that the answer to the problem that our people face? The answer to the problem that our people face is not for them to, it's not incarceration. Incarceration don't, how many years now they have been incarcerating people? I mean, you have a man locked up for 20 years or 10 years or 5 years or even 3 years. And then you let him out and say, oh, you are now being rehabilitated. Really? And many of them go back into prison for similar crimes and things. No, that's not the problem. That's not the way to solve it. Right? We as our people, and then this falls in the lap of the Christians again. Why? Because Christians were around when slavery was, Christianity has been around before slavery. We go through the period of slavery. Here we are out of slavery. Christianity not helping us with anything. As a matter of fact, they seem to, in support of the government, carrying out extrajudicial killing on our people, which is you're in another kind of world when you do that, because after a while, these you killing a set of people, after a while they are going to strike back. They're going to want to fight back. Would that be the way? Would that be the answer to what is happening now? But then we are being governed by a set of people that is not our people. So the humanitarian side of them will not come out towards us. Think of you being, you always hear children talk about this, being raised by a stepfather. The love that the father would have is not there with that stepfather. So the love that our people would show to each other under rulership is not necessarily there when the next nation is ruling over us. Right? Even though it's not all of our people becoming ruler is going to show love to our people. Many of them is going to be like some of these that you would be reading about in Second Maccabees. Right? There is one who named Simon. Well, we're not going to touch the Simon story, but that man now was a Benjamite who really sought to sell his people out. And we here in Jamaica, we are Benjamites. So what you tell me, maybe some of the people here will be descendants of that same Simon. So nobody think that is every Israelite is being a leader. Any Israelite is being a leader when we are totally under any heathen nation. You know that leader is serving. It is just a puppet to those people. Verse 5, and open your heart and in his law and commandment and send with peace. 6, and hear your prayers and be at one with you and never forsake you in time of trouble. 6, and now we be here praying for you. Verse 7, what time has Demetrius reigned? In the 139th year. All right, so you know most people always say the Bible don't have no timeline until, but here is one timeline. So you're gonna want to check a record where there was a man named Demetrius reigning over, I think, Greece. So this is 139th year of the Grecian reign. You have this man named Demetrius who was reigning over the Grecian kingdom. We the Jews wrote unto you in the extremity of trouble that came upon us in those years, from the time that Jason and his company revolted from the Holy Land and kingdom. So this was some time after the Maccabees have reigned, and others now start to reign within Jerusalem. Alright, so now 8, and burned the porch and shed innocent blood. Then we prayed unto the Lord and were heard. No, this was it. After the thing there. After Judas Maccabeus and so on. Then you have this man now. I think Jason was a Grecian ruler. Somebody who set over Jerusalem by the Grecians. Burned the porch and shed innocent blood. Then we prayed unto the Lord and were heard. We offered also sacrifices and fine flour and lighted the lamps and set forth the loaves. All right, when talking about lighting the lamps, this is what you call the candlesticks. And set forth the loaves, the bread, that should be set in the temple. So they are saying, no, we did all that. And now see that ye keep the feast of tabernacle in the month Caslu. Right, so that's another timeline. You would have to go back to the time when the Grecians were ruling. The Persians were there strong still, but the majority of the kingdoms were under the Grecians. You know, we have to find out when was Castle, which month would have been Castle, whether, and how do you do it now? Whether the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth month. Verse 10. In the 104 year, right? See, 104 would be what? 80, 88. So 188 year. Right. I think they will be counting from the time of the Persians coming down. The people that were at Jerusalem and in Judea and the council and Judas sent greeting and health unto Aristobulus, King Ptolemy, master, who was of the stock of the anointed priests. And to the Jews that were in Egypt. 11. Insomuch as God hath delivered us from great perils, we thank him highly, as having been in battle against a king. All right. So we went to battle against a king, and the Most High stood with us, and we overcome it. Get back the country. For he cast them out that fought within the holy city. So the Most High was able to protect Jerusalem. For when the leader was come into Persia, and the army with him that seemed invincible, they were slain in the temple of Narnia by the deceit of Narnia's priest. So the one who was the strong man over Jerusalem now, he was slain by his enemy. He was enemy of the house now. But when he died, that was when Jerusalem actually get some freedom. For Antiochus, as though he would marry her, came into the place, and his friends that were with him to receive money in name of a dowry. So they were setting up a kingly, royal wedding. The king's daughter was to marry some person, so there was to be money for the dowry, paying for the wife. So they went into Persia, into Narnia, to collect that dowry. Verse 15. Which when the priest of Narnia had set forth, and he was entered with a small company into the compass of the temple, they shut the temple as soon as Antiochus was come in. So here now in 2nd Maccabees, he's giving an account as to Antiochus' perils and how he died. So as soon as Antiochus came into the temple at Narnia, the priests of Narnia, they lock him in the temple. All right. Remember, this is not he wasn't at Jerusalem. He was in Persia, in a place named Narnia, in a temple, to some heathen god. "16. And opening a privy door." So this is a secret now. The door now, they're opening at the roof. And them plan the thing how they want to kill the king. And opening a privy door of the roof, they threw stones like thunderbolts and struck down the captain, hewed them in pieces, smote off their heads, and cast them to those that were without. Right. Kill them within the temple and throw them out outside. Verse 17. Blessed be our God in all things, who hath delivered up the ungodly. Therefore, verse 18, whereas we are now proposed to keep the purification of the temple upon the 5 and 20th day of the month Caslu, the 25th day of the month, we thought it necessary to certify you thereof, that ye also might keep it. All right, where is this again? The 25th day. I think when we read this now, we read it when we reach Akanaka. It always says, I'll tell you what when we read Akanaka, what it says. All right, so Feast of Tabernacle and then Akanaka is the 25th day of the 9th month. So you see timeline, you can know that the 9th month they used to call it Caslu. It doesn't really matter. Today the 9th month is called September. Yet still, how you count it? The year didn't begin in January. The year begin at the beginning of spring. So the 9th month the 9th month in reality would today what we call December, which when you count the days again, sometimes it falls up in November, sometimes it falls in later December. Now it is early December. Today is the 10th. It began last week Thursday. Akanaka began last week Thursday, right? And we always refer you to where to find this dedication. We tell you that it is in Maccabees 4, First Maccabees 4, 58 to 61. But here in Second Maccabees now, they're having a celebration for the dedication of the temple at this time when about the story that we're reading. Therefore, whereas we are now proposed to keep the purification of the temple upon the 5th and 20th day of the month Caslu, we thought it necessary to certify you thereof. Which is why in the scriptures, the timelines, which, most, even our own people don't see the timeline because it don't say in 1948 or in 19 so and so, or, it doesn't give it that way. It tell you who was reigning, it tell you the amount of years, they say 100 and something years, and they tell you the month. And they give you a feast. So this is one way in which the Bible now mark timeline by feast days. Because then you go back and you research as to when feast days really is. Right now, if say governments should collapse around the world, and then whichever government come up as a ruler decide that, all right, we're going to start accounting now in the world. We're going to start back from 1. He has the power to do it. Who wants to stop it? He can do it. Right? Now we said 2023. 2023 since what? So timeline, just remember this, time is fictitious. Which is why it is the way it is. We thought it necessary to certify you thereof, that ye also might keep it as a feast of the tabernacle. and of the fire. Feast of Tabernacle was before the Feast of the Purification, which was given us when Nehemiah offered sacrifice. After that, he had built the temple and the altar. 19. For when our fathers were led into Persia, the priests that were then devout took the fire of the altar privily. So in other words, now hide and take away some of the fire from the altar and hid it in a hollow place of a pit without water. So you find a dry pit somewhere, put the fire down there and hide it. This is the fire that would be on the altar that you would build up to offer the sacrifice. That they would build up to offer the sacrifice. My word, damn. Power be unto the Most High. All right, so he hid it. The priest now hid the fire in a pit, a dry pit that didn't have water in it. All right, and what happened now? Where they kept it sure, so that the place was unknown to all men. Right, so they hide it. Who know about it? Only the priest know where the fire was hidden. Now, after many years, when it pleased God, Nehemiah, who was Nehemiah, being sent from the king of Persia. All right, the time of Nehemiah now that he's referring to would be from way up in when we were reading about the book of Nehemiah. Who was there? Esdras, Nehemiah. Who else? Nehemiah was the priest. Right, and so on. That is from way back, some other book. So this is referencing now books that were already in the Old Testament. So Nehemiah is now being sent from the king of Persia, right? Nehemiah was sent by, what was the king name again? Cyrus. Nehemiah was sent by Cyrus. So Nehemiah became governor over Jerusalem. He was the high priest. No, Andrew. He was the high priest. The governor over the provinces were, what's his name again? He has Esdras. Yeah, Esdras was the governor. Nehemiah was the high priest. So what he's giving an account to now was Nehemiah. Nehemiah was the king's, I think he was the king's cupbearer. Being sent from the king of Persia, did send of the posterity of those priests that had hid it to the fire. But when they told us, they found no fire, but thick water. So many years passed, and the pit where them hide the fire into now water gathering it. When they're ready for the fire and then go to the place, go to the pit, there was no fire. Only water inside there. Thick water meaning water and mud. 21. Then commanded he them to draw it up and to bring it. And when the sacrifices were laid on it, Nehemiah commanded the priests. So bring the water. They don't find the water, but they find the fire. They don't find the fire, but they found the water in the same place. So they draw the water and carry it up. When the sacrifices were laid on, Nehemiah commanded the priests to sprinkle the wood and the things laid thereupon with the water. So them still do them sacrifice, put the sacrifice and the wood on the altar. And then him say, all right, sprinkle the sacrifice now with water, the water that was drawn from the place that they hid the fire. When this was done, and the time came that the sun shone, which afore was hid in the cloud, there was a great fire kindled, so that every man marveled. So in other words, what they did, they used water to light the fire. If only God could be with you for saying such things to happen. 23. And the priest made a prayer whilst the sacrifice was consumed. I say both the priest and all the rest, Jonathan beginning, and the rest answering thereon, as Nehemiah did. And the prayer was after this manner. So he is mirroring now the two times of the rebuilding of the temple, the time of Nehemiah and the time of Jonathan here, the Maccabees, brother. And the prayer was after this manner, O Lord, creator of all things, who art fearful and strong, and righteous, and merciful, and the only and gracious King. 25. The only giver of all things, the only just, almighty, and everlasting, thou that deliverest Israel from all trouble, and didst choose the fathers, and sanctify them. 26. Receive the sacrifice for thy whole people Israel, and preserve thine own portion, and sanctify it. 27. Gather those together that are scattered from us. So you see, whenever we come from captivity, there's always a call to gather yourself together, which is why here in the truth we talk about that. Gather yourself together. From the book of Zephaniah. Deliver them that serve among the heathen. Yeah. Which today basically is all of us, all 12 tribes. Damn. Yeah, we here in the Caribbean, serving among the heathen. Look upon them that are despised and abhorred, and let the heathen know that thou art our God. Trust me, this is so needed today. Punish them that oppress us, and with pride do us wrong. Plant thy people again in thy holy place, as Moses had spoken. 30. And the priest sung psalms of thanksgiving. 31. Now when the sacrifice was consumed, Nehemiah commanded the water that was left to be poured on the great stones. 32. When this was done, there was kindled a flame, but it was consumed by the light that shined from the altar. There was a bright light coming from the altar, so that most people probably didn't see that the rest of the water had turned into fire as well. 33. So when this matter was known, it was told the king of Persia that in the place where the priests that were led away had hid the fire, there appeared water, and that Nehemiah had purified the sacrifices therewith. So this is now a recounting of, like I said, in the time of Maccabees, what happened in the time of Nehemiah. SHALAM. YAHANNA. All right.
How about you, Sharp? Because what's going on about that one? I don't sound too loud, right?
You sound loud, man, but that's the way it should be, man.
Okay, let me turn it down a little bit. That sound better now?
You were fine. You were fine. You should be loud.
Okay, most sign Christ, you know what I mean? The water for having me, you know what I mean?
Yeah. All right, so let me. We're reading in Second Maccabees, the stories of Second Maccabees. We want to cover 1, 2, 3. You know what the brothers did, or how the Most High had, be with us and so on.
Come on.
But I go and pause a little, and, how was yesterday, man? How was the march, man?
Yesterday was one.
Sorry, we don't march.
It was. We did a march yesterday. You know what I mean, we did a march. It was not like the march that Christians do in the world and that people that's into politics do in the world. We had a march to display the army of the Most High, because soldiers do march. And of course, what you were saying as pertains to people in the world, those people who march in the world, they are not soldiers. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the soldiers of the Most High, we marched on to Harlem to give out the food to the migrants and the people in the area.
Right.
To make everybody understand who we were. Right. To show that this is not a Christian organization. And I would go as far as to say that this is not a religious organization, but can be seen like one, being that we use the Bible, and being that this organization is based off of the Bible in wholeness and truth. You know what I mean? Yesterday was one of the most beautiful days I've ever seen in the truth. It was a day to go down in history. The imagery was very powerful. Yeah, and I it was definitely something that I could see people talking about how we all came together. People talk about this for 10 years from now. It was a very glorious day. You know what I mean? Now, for the men who was Slucky, go ahead, I'll be down. Slucky, go ahead.
I say I can just imagine. Yeah. Go on, continue.
Khan. You know what I mean? So being that the men there, we're used to working, right? So we're always used to doing things like this. So we might not look at how the public views it and how the world views it and how people who will join the UPK in the future might view it. Because I know back in the days, in the 1990s and further on and so forth, the people in the school, they didn't value what they had when they was there. They just looked at it like, okay, we're going on the street to teach the Bible. But then our generation now, looking at what they did, we look at it as legendary stuff. We look at it as legendary works. Very, very different to how, the men who was burdened with the work viewed it themselves. You know what I mean? So, yes, I see, I see the future on this, and I'm looking at how it's going to impact the public mind of how we're perceived by the world, and that's what's most important to Christ. He said to become the Jews, so that we may gain the Jews. They have to see what they want. The public right now in the world is demanding militancy from the younger Black and Latino men and Native Indian men. Understand? And that's what we was able to give them yesterday, to show that this place is still available by the will of the Most High in Christ.
Right. I also hear a story about some IUIC shooting.
Another one.
You mean another one?
Another one. Oh man. Yeah, because they got a couple.
Really?
They have a couple. They got And I don't know the story that you're talking about, but I'm sure you're gonna go into it, and we're gonna cover that.
No. I don't have any. I just hear that there was some shooting. I don't know if it was one of their members being shot, or there's somebody from one of their members shoot somebody. I don't know.
The only stories I'm kind of familiar with that kind of went away with, all of the news of evildoers go away after a time, right? So I remember a woman in the IUSD, her son got shot in front of the IUSD building. I know one time in Philadelphia, and another occurrence in New York where they're teaching on the street and people on the street are shooting at them. Live gunfire rounds, shots at them. Right, in Philadelphia a couple years ago, and New York City, I believe, earlier on this year. Right, I know that much. When it comes to shootings in IUIC, I'm very familiar with the story where the guy in, I believe it was Tennessee, where the men in there waited and plotted on one of their own higher ranking members to come into the class before they, come from behind and punch him and beat him down and send some guy to the hospitals. And then on the street, they're chasing around each other and threatening each other. I know that's something that goes on in the IUIC. That's as much as I know when it comes to violence. Also, you have the man from IUIC who used a live firearm and fired live ammunition into the face of a transsexual into IUIC after paying to have illicit services from this gay man, a LGBT Caucasian man. Fired live rounds of ammunition into that LGBT member's face. This is a man from the IUIC that did that, and he went to jail for attempted unaliving. If you can say, the charge is called attempted murder. There's no reason that YouTube should flag this video for saying the name of the charge. He got charged of attempted murder. He's in prison right now, I believe.
There is no charge him attempted unaliving. Attempted murder.
God.
I want to flag it. That's just show you what the oppressor is good for.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. So let's go back to that Maccabees time. What verse we are today? Verse. Right. So in Maccabees, Maccabees, I don't remember if this was I don't remember reading this in the book of Nehemiah, where they hid the fire after they realized that the place was overrun by who was it then? It would have been the time of the Babylonian captivity.
Okay.
Right. And then we would have gained freedom under the Persians. So in Maccabees now, he's giving an account of what happened in the time of Nehemiah, or when they went back to the pit in which the fire was hidden. They didn't see any fire, they see water in the pit. They said thick water. So they were commanded to draw the water. So they draw the water and still sprinkle it on the sacrifices and the wood, on the sacrifice and on the wood. And as soon as the sun shone on it, it just burst into flame. Boom. And men were startled. These I don't know if the time span of men witnessing these things, and then men making a conscious decision to not follow the Lord, I don't know if the time span is so great where witnessing things like this, and then they're going to say, you know what, I'm not follow the Edens. You understand what I'm saying? Because thinking about these great things, yet our people do decide to go serve idols. All right, verse.
Slack up over that one. What verse is this that we have on the screen here currently? If I may.
I'm checking it. I didn't hear your voice, someone else. I was wondering if you got cut off.
No, I'm too. But I mute my microphone just so there's no background noises that might interrupt you.
All right, verse 30. All right, we'll start back from 32. When this was done, there was kindled a flame, but it was consumed by the light that shined from the altar. Right. 33. So when this matter was made, it was told the king of Persia that in the place where the priests that were led away had hid the fire, there appeared water, and that Nehemiah had purified the sacrifices therewith. 34. But the king, in closing the place, made it holy after he had tried the matter. So what the king of Persia do now was to that era which the fire was in proclaim it to be a holy place. It sounds much like a heathen, ain't it? Well, anyway, that was done. 35. And the king took many gifts and bestowed thereon those whom he would gratify. So after the king learned how to get fire from water, he sent many gifts to those in Jerusalem and give it to whoever you want to gratify with. 36. And Nehemiah called this thing not, which is as much to say cleansing, but many men call it leaping. Would not be a Hebrew word?
Say it again.
Nafar. Is it a Hebrew? Would it be an Hebrew word?
God, all names in the Bible will be an Hebrew come from Hebrew words, right? So names won't be translated into English by words. So they'll leave a kind of like what they call a transliteration of the name that was in Hebrew. And this right here will be a transliteration. If I got the chapter and the verse, I'll be able to see what the Hebrew word actually was. It looks like it will be saying Napathar, right? Because they got the PH there. You know, they put the PH sometimes with a P. But you know, we have to see. You have to see. Like Nehemiah would be Nakamaya. You know what I mean? Yeah. So Nehemiah.
We have a Nakamaya in the school, ain't it?
Yeah, his name is this name.
Oh.
Right. So that's how it comes from Hebrew to when you're reading the transliteration of English versions of the scriptures. You know what I mean? The translation.
Okay. It is 2 Maccabees 1 verse 36.
1 verse 36. Okay.
Where is the 2 Maccabees verse 2 now? All right, 2 Maccabees verse 2. Chapter 2, verse 1.
Okay.
It is also found in the records that Jeremy, the prophet, commanded them that were carried away to take up the fire as it had been signified. Now, you see, the records that these men, the Maccabees, will be reading from, it has been consolidated for our time. And many of those records were stolen, maybe destroyed, maybe somewhere sitting in the Vatican, I don't know. But it could be there because these records that they are reading from is not in Jerusalem there. Verse 2. And all that the prophet, having given them the law, charged them not to forget the commandments of the Lord. Yes, in Nehemiah time that was done. And that they should not err in their minds when they see images of silver and gold, which were ornament. Right, so these pretty things always draw our people. Like just like today, Christmas time. What I like to see the Christmas tree being decorated and the blinky lights.
Right.
Look at proper light, which is a replica of the northern light of it.
Okay.
Right.
Also,
yes, Lord.
Also, the celebrities that people see that do Christmas, who people know are rich. Back in these days, wealth was measured with gold and silver. If you've seen a man walk with these images, and he worships the Christmas tree and so forth, then people always err in their mind to follow this famous person, because this famous person is part of this weird religion. So now black people, in America, in the States, they will go follow Whitney Houston and worship a lettuce because Whitney Houston did it. She was a famous person. And now people start drawn to these religions in India and all these other places. You see what I'm saying? This is very much the same pattern that we're reading about men in the Bible, or what they did a long time ago. I just wanted to add that. Okay.
Yeah. It's the same way today, thousands of years after. I mean, for today, we know that slavery has messed our minds up. But there is still a lot of us who didn't go through slavery. We all went through oppression one way or another. But now you're out. Many of them see the truth, but like you said, you follow a Whitney Houston or so and so because they are popular, they are shining, and they are doing it. So you do it too. Right? So this is still following what Maccabees here was talking about. You being erring your mind, going after images of silver and gold with their ornaments. Right? It might not be something that is shining. All right, who is shining today in stardom in America? Which black person?
Yeah, you asking me about that one?
Canada one concert.
Oh, Beyonce.
Right. You have the Beyonce. You have Beyonce. Which male you have now?
Jay-Z.
Right, Jay-Z. Yeah. And a recent young billionaire, Nick Cannon is a billionaire now.
Okay.
Yeah, that show, what's the name of the show again?
Wild and Out.
Wild and Out is $1 billion show now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worth 1 point something. No, this is the blessing that follows our people. He did not create YAHANNA to be a multi-million-dollar business. He created YAHANNA to as a way to provide some employment for some of his friends. You know,
Right.
that was why he started it. So he created it for some of his friends to make money. And the way it goes, the stations, the networks that he first approached, they didn't understand what he was saying. So I'm saying, all right, I'm gonna do some pilot program and show them. Now, by the time he was doing the pilot program, he had to do all the licensing in his name. So he became the owner of the show. So by the time now these networks start, oh, now we understand what you were saying. He already was the owner of the show. So, doing his audit probably sometime this year, he realized the show was worth over $1 billion, right? So now you're gonna have people following Nick Cannon because he is shining with gold and silver. And whatever he does, he should have stood his ground at the time when he was talking about us being an Israelite. You see how it play out now? Should have stood his ground. All right, so verse 3. And with other such speeches exhorted he them, that the law should not depart from their hearts. So Nehemiah had actually begged the people that the law should not depart from their heart. But if you realize with our people, with us as a people, you, the parent, you say, yes, I realize that I should be following the laws and things. But for your kids, something different. Verse 4. It was also contained in the same writing that the prophet, being warned of God, commanded the tabernacle and the ark to go with him as he went forth into the mountain where Moses climbed up and saw the heritage of God. This was talking about Jeremy now, or what we said, Jeremiah. And when Jeremy came thither, he found an hollow cave, wherein he laid the tabernacle and the ark and the altar of incense, and so stopped the door. Verse 6. And some of those that followed him came to mark the way, but they could not find it. Verse 7. Which when Jeremiah perceived, he blamed them, saying, as for that place, it shall be unknown until the time that God gather his people again together and receive them unto mercy. So here it is in Second Maccabees now that the Ark of the Covenant and the tabernacle is hidden somewhere until these last days when the Most High gather his people again. Then they're going to see these things reappear. The Tamayam, the Ark of the Covenant, the tabernacle. Who knows? Maybe the ephod and breastplate and some of those goblets. Who knows? Verse 8. Then shall the Lord show them these things, and the glory of the Lord shall appear, and the cloud also, as it was showed under Moses, and as when Solomon desired that the place might be honorably sanctified. Verse 9. It was also declared that he, being wise, offered the sacrifice of dedication and of the finishing of the temple. So the dedication came about again, was from Solomon time again. Solomon, Nehemiah, and here you have it in Maccabees. So in Maccabees' time, it was the third time that the temple was being dedicated. So them in Jerusalem now today talking about rebuilding of the third temple. Them late. Verse 10. And as when Moses prayed unto the Lord, the fire came down from heaven and consumed the sacrifices. Even so prayed Solomon also, and the fire came down from heaven and consumed the burnt offerings. So basically this happened in Solomon time, and then again in Nehemiah time. I don't remember if that's the way it was in Jonathan's time when they were doing it in Maccabees' time. Verse 11. And Moses says, because the sin offering was not to be eaten, it was consumed. Verse 12. So Solomon kept those 8 days. So this time of the Akarnaka was the same time period as in Solomon time, as in Nehemiah time, and as in Maccabees time. Right, sir?
Say it one more time, please. I quite get you.
Akarnaka, the 8 days of dedicating the temple.
Right.
Rededication was Solomon time, Nehemiah's time, and the Maccabees time.
No, Hanukkah was during the time of the Maccabees, right here. We're reading from.
Yeah, but
from
it's the same dedication.
No.
Hanukkah
was this in the Maccabees is celebrating the victory of the Greeks. So the Greeks came against us. Some fake Israelite groups were saying that we're not gonna fight them on the Sabbath day, and some other brothers, the brothers like Jonathan that you said, he said we're gonna stand up and fight for our people, our wives, and our children. You know, and they dedicated themselves, and after that they had the dedication of the temple, because the temple was cast down. See what I'm saying? They was eating swine on the altar and all kind of stuff. So they had to create a rededication of the rebuilding of.
I'm saying the dedication took place. The dedication took place in Nehemiah's time as well.
It's not this. I wouldn't say it's the same thing. That's not the same.
No, it was the same reason, but the temple was down and had to be rededicated.
I understand what you're saying, but if you say that to the average man, you'll confuse him. You'll make him think that this day is related to a time in Nehemiah, and that's not what we teach. That's not how we would teach it.
No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying it's not related to that, but it's a dedication that happened Solomon time, Nehemiah time, and Maccabees time.
I've never heard that. Salakia. I wouldn't teach. Like, for me personally, I wouldn't teach that. I would never teach that. Salakia.
No man, that's just what we're talking about here. All right. Second Maccabees 2 and verse 8 here, right? Where it says it's talking about King Solomon. Right. Earlier it was talking about the time of Nehemiah. And then in verse 12 it says, so Solomon kept those 8 days. So this was a letter now that one of the brothers was writing to they call them the Jews that were in Egypt at the time. So he was talking about those things. All right, You were saying something?
It's like you're saying that they was doing the feast of dedication.
So during the feast of dedication, he's just saying in the letter that those men rededicated the temple.
Okay, okay. I got what you're saying. Come.
Verse 13. The same things also were reported in the writings and commentaries of Nehemiah, and how he founding a library gathered together the acts of the kings and the prophets and of David and the epistles of the kings concerning the holy gifts. In like manner also Judas gathered together all those things that were lost by reason of the war we had, and they remain with us.
Come.
So in the time of Judas, they had to hide some books. In the time of Jeremiah, they had to hide some books. Right? So he's talking about these time now. Not necessarily
Okay.
see the period of time.
Right.
In terms
I
of
understand what you're saying. Honestly,
it
in
happened
that case, yeah, in that case, you'll be right. You'll be right, because it's in this. You're saying that it's in the same manner of the times before,
right.
where heathens came and tried to take the books, and we had
Right.
to rebuild. You will be correct, Khan.
So we had to fight them and rebuild the temple, and some of the writings that were lost, those that they had to. Here now in this now reading on, we're talking about we have to consolidate some of the writings, or summarize, so to speak.
Khan.
Verse 17. We hope also that the God that delivered all his people and gave them all an heritage and the kingdom and the priesthood and the sanctuary, 18, as he promised in the law, will shortly have mercy upon us and gather us together out of every land under heaven into the holy place.
That's right.
So it's the same thing we're praying for today.
Khan. That's right.
For he had delivered us out of great troubles and had purified the place. 19. Now as concerning Judas Maccabeus and his brethren, and the purification of the great temple, and the dedication of the altar, and the wars against Antiochus Epiphanes and Eupator his son, and the manifest signs that came from heaven unto those that behaved themselves manfully to their honor for Judaism, so that being but a few, they overcame the whole country and chased barbarous multitudes. 22. And recovered again the temple renowned all the world over, and freed the city, and upheld the laws which were going down, the Lord being gracious unto them with all favor. Verse 23. All these things I say, being declared by Jason of Cyrene in 5 books, we will essay to abridge in 1 volume. 24. For considering the infinite number and the difficulty which they find that desire to look into the narrations of the story for the variety of the matter, we have been careful that they that will read might have delight, and that they that are desirous to commit to memory might have ease, and that all into whose hands it comes might have profit. So these are writings now that they obviously lost and gone again, or somewhere on the earth, somewhere preserved somewhere. Verse 26. Therefore to us that have taken upon us this painful labor of abridging. It was not easy, but a matter of sweat and watching. 27. Even as it is no ease unto him that prepareth a banquet, and seeking the benefit of others, yet for the pleasuring of many we will undertake gladly this great pain.
If I could, this is what the men in the I.S.U.P.K did on the developing of this school here. Head
Right.
priest Marshall and them, gone. Head priest Marshall and them, head priest Aria and them, to go down into libraries and try to find all the things. No, THAWADAH, no, thank you. They'll go to find all the things relating to the Israelites to prove that we were these people to the public, as the scripture said right here, to abridge the information with the lives that we live today, so people could believe the identity that they lost and come back to it. And without these abridging, the Bible in the hands of the Christians would just seem like a fairy tale book. It would sound like a book with a bunch of they say fairies. I've never read no fairies in the Bible, right? But of course, everyone knows about the snake that talked that wasn't really a snake. Or they might talk about God. They might talk about the healing of a dead man and how ridiculous that sounds. And the parting of the Red Sea. And the Egyptian chariots being at the bottom of the Red Sea. And how ridiculous that sounds. Even though you can go to that same Red Sea and still see the wheels of those chariots under the water today. So they try to bring to reality, into a practical sense, of all the things that are in the Bible that can be proven to be true. And it was painful. They labored with their whole lives for these things. And men came behind them. Commander YAHANNA came up behind him, those men, to continue the work. THAWADAH, no thank you. No. Right? I just wanted to add that about that one, right?
Right. So it is the same thing in the time of the Maccabees now. When, they have to go back, do their research and rebuild.
Also, oh my gosh. Let's not forget the debating, the painful debates we're gonna have everybody to try to convince people all over the country and the planet. You know what I mean? That don't want to listen to what the Lord is saying in the scriptures, to bridge this reality with brothers in Jamaica being the real Jews. Even right now, people don't believe that. They want to believe we're Africans. To the pain it takes to abridge this information to say that we're not Africans, we are the Israelites. Same thing, man. It's sad, man. I mean,
Painstaking works. Yet still, in those days, at least those people, they knew they were Jews. They knew they were the Jews, And yet still, there was problems. Today is the same thing. All right, verse 28. Leaving to the author the exact handling of every particular and laboring to follow the rules of an abridgment. For as the master builder of a new house must care for the whole building, but he that undertaketh to set it out and paint it must seek out fit things for the adorning thereof. Even so, I think it is with us. So we have the seven priests now who was like the master builders. There you are now, and then you have commanding general there now who took over from them now, who has to set things out and things. So we know who come on now. We are like the ones who think about now how to paint up this house and let it be beautiful, adorn it. Verse 30. To stand upon every point and go over things at large, and to be curious in particulars, belongeth to the first author of the story. But to use brevity and avoid much laboring of the work is to be granted to him that will make an abridgment. 32. Here then will we begin the story, only adding this much to that which hath been said, that it is a foolish thing to make a long prologue and to be short in the story itself. All right, so what we were reading here is always like a precursor to what he really wants to say. Because what he really was talking about is some of the things that really happened in Jerusalem at the time when the Maccabees rebelled. All right, so here he goes into the story, which we're just going to read up to chapter 3 here of the story. Now, when the holy city was inhabited with all peace, and the laws were kept very well, because of the godliness of Onias the high priest and his hatred of wickedness. So, in other words, they overcome the Greeks and get back the people to be serving God again. It came to pass that even the kings themselves did honor the place and magnify the temple with their best gifts. So even the kings of the world used to see Jerusalem as, wow, you know, let me send some gifts to these people. They have done such a great job. In so much that Seleucus of Asia, of his own revenues, bear all the costs belonging to the service of the sacrifices. So the sacrifices that we were to do in Jerusalem, you had other kings who were heathen, who would say, man, these people are doing so good. You know, I'll stand the cost of their sacrifices. They did that. Verse 4. But one Simon of the tribe of Benjamin, who was made governor of the temple, fell out with the high priest about disorder in the city. All right, so this man now was made the governor of the temple, named Simon. Him and the high priest now have what do you call it? They couldn't get along. They had a falling out. And when he could not overcome Onias, he got him to Apollonius, the son of Thracias, who then was governor of Seleucia and Phoenice. So he can't conquer the high priest now. Rather than, take the matter to the Most High and behave himself, he went to the heathens and told him that the treasury in Jerusalem was full of infinite sums of money. Now, each time when they want to bring the heathens and us, when the sons of Belial want to bring heathens and Jerusalem, first thing they tell them about is money, Hey, enough money down there,
Yeah, that's right.
And, it's not different today.
Yeah.
Why you think these other nations, especially the smaller, flock behind our stars? Enough money is there, man. There's so much money to be made from these stars.
If I could, you also have the right now with the Hamas Palestine and Israeli conflict right now. A lot of people are speculating that when they seize these areas, when they seize the areas from the West Bank to Gaza, right, they will be closer to achieving their goals of having access to, I believe it's one of the, don't quote me on this, I believe it's one of the rivers over there where the ships have to pass through from Europe to Asia. And what they're saying is that the Muslim countries have the dominion of the path of the ships going there.
Right.
And also oil is another thing too.
Oil,
So
yeah.
of course, yeah. So they're saying, okay, well, even though we get into this conflict, of course we're gonna have to suffer war, but then there will be great financial benefits from the war, is what they're saying. You know what I mean?
Definitely. I mean, tourism. You know how much money these people make out of tourism annually? Jerusalem. And you can imagine Gaza now, if they get Gaza. The whole of Gaza is a beachfront, you know, it's beachfront. Can you manage them? They get Gaza and they able to string it out with some hotels. These people this way, what kind of peace you expect for yourself, don't you? You expect them to just, you expect the entire Arab community to just roll over and play dead. But anyways, the reality is they, in their mind, there is monies there. And the Edens have never bat an eyelid to take money from anything that was ours. Right? Right in the story here now. This man now went to the king when the king should have said, "Oh no, I mean this I'm not interested in touching that." But he himself was clever because he didn't tell the king that it was a temple's money. All right, let's read on. Verse 6. And told him that the treasury in Jerusalem was full of infinite sums of money, so that the multitude of their riches, which did not pertain to the account of the sacrifices, was innumerable, and that it was possible to bring all into the king's hand. So he now go to the king now and tell him that you can Jerusalem full of money now. You can get money from Jerusalem, which is not from the sacrifices. Money in the money now nothing to do with the sacrifice. So of course the king now, because at that time the kings of the world had respect unto the temple. So he would not want to touch the temple's things. So he now come up with something and said, this money that I'm talking about, not for the temple. And you can get it in your treasury. Verse 7. Now when Apollonius came to the king and had showed him of the money whereof he was told, the king chose out Eliodorus, his treasurer, and sent him with a commandment to bring him the foresaid money. So this is like now you send your minister of finance. Well, look call the man in America now, the American government who controls the money. Somebody who is over the treasury.
They will be the people of the treasury.
So you're gonna have like a all right. Out here now we say we have a specific finance minister. This is the man over the treasury. So in the States, who is the person over the American treasury?
I believe his name is Jerome Powell. Let me get his specific name. Jerome Powell.
Jerome Powell.
He is the chair of the Federal Reserve of the United States.
Right. So think of now the president sending Jerome Powell now to say, go down to Jamaica and I hear some money down there. That, as a matter of fact, give you a better story. In the time of 1918 or 1915, somewhere there, where the American government actually invaded Haiti. And what did they do? They took the Haitians' money, the Haitians' reserve, which was actual gold. They take it and put it in the New York National Reserve, which is why until today, so New York is one of the richest cities in America. right? So it's a similar thing. They went into Haiti, took those money, and then put all the Asian banks to be governed by the banks of New York. And who control New York?
The Jewish man controls New York.
You see, I mean, history has been played on us in so many ways. So many ways.
Gone.
Because who was it that was over the Greeks, Grecians? The same Esau people, them, did it. And here they
That's
were
right.
now, yeah, want to take away our money in Jerusalem. All right. Verse 8. So forthwith Elidorus took his journey under a color of visiting the cities of Seleucia and Phinis, but indeed to fulfill. So he went out like him going on a diplomatic tour to visit the cities of Seleucia and Phinis. But his aim was Jerusalem. And when he was just receive of the high priest of the city, he told him what intelligence was given of the money, and declared wherefore he came, and asked if these things were so indeed. Then the high priest told him that there was such money laid up for the relief of widows and fatherless children. So you see, this was how we as a people was able to prevent crime in our society. Those that
Right.
were from those that were vulnerable were taken care of by the state. Children that were fatherless and widows, women who their husband had died. There's
If
no
I could,
such. Go ahead.
Slack, finish your point about that one. Slack, you go ahead.
There's no such thing in Jamaica here. You know, you where they say, oh, pull. They don't use the term pull yourself up by your boots. Fatherless, widowed children or women also, and they turn to crime. Whichever whatever cause it to turn to crime, then they just bring out the police and they say and talk about, oh, it's not crime, it's the monster, it's the people. Which is why our people really need to come back to the Most High God. Here it is. The state have the money stored up for the widows and the fatherless children. And who coming to take it? It's same man that who is taking it today. How they take it today now? They take it through them bank loans that our government have to be repaying. IMF, World Bank, China Bank, you name them. That is why they are not able to maintain things locally. You know, they push these loans on them. All right, right now they go $1 trillion budget. I'm sure he's looking towards some kind of loan to pump into that budget, which he's going to have to pay back a couple years from now. And which is the same thing like you're coming in to take away. Let us do it on another way. Rather than come and stick you up and tell her, okay, you have to turn over this money. They find a way to suck it out. They use a siphon method. Verse 12.
If I could, before verse 12, right? I just want to say that this goes to show also about the lies that the oppressor says about black people, that we used to be swinging in trees in Africa, and if we were to ever get free from slavery in the States, that we would not know what we would do. We did not have it in us to ever look after our own people. We always spent our money on luxury cars, or we did not look out for the rainy days. That was a lie. You know what I mean? Because this right here in our records say that we laid up money for the bad time. We had money in the treasury. to look after widows and fatherless children.
Fatherless children.
You know what I mean?
And even before, even after this time, even after slavery, remember that our people we were a close knit set of people. The monies were being spent among us. These people look out just like these leaders that we are reading about in the time of the Maccabees. They on the outside look in and say, wait, there's the money in there can take, man. 80, 80 was a country doing good, that so much so that they sorry, across America you have many little black settlement that they would call little 80. And you had Asians who used to fund these black.
That's true. God.
Belonged to Hyrcanus, son of Tobias, a man of great dignity, and not as that wicked Simon had misinformed. The sum whereof in all was 400 talents of silver, 200 of gold. Same thing they do to 80. Go and take away the silver and the gold that 80, the physical silver and gold that 80 have, and put it in the New York Treasury. And that it was altogether impossible that such wrongs should be done unto them that had committed it to the holiness of the place, and to the majesty and inviolable sanctity of the temple honored over all the world. But Heliodorus, because of the king's commandment given him, said that in any wise it must be brought into the king's treasury. So, in other words, him sit down and him listening, but that day him say, I'm really busy what you want to say now. It's supposed to come over to the king. So, at the day which he appointed, he entered in to order this matter. Wherefore, there was no small agony throughout the whole city. But the priests, prostrating themselves before the altar in their priest's vestment, called unto heaven upon him that made a law concerning things given to be kept, that they should safely be preserved for such as had committed them to be kept. So in other words, now they would be crying out to the Most High and say, "You said that we should take care of the fatherless and the widow, and we are doing it, and here they are come now to take away that money." Verse 16. Then whoso had looked the high priest in the face, it would have wounded his heart, for his countenance and the changing of his color declared the inward agony of his mind. For the man was so compassed with fear and horror of the body, that it was manifest to them that looked upon him what sorrow he had now in his heart. Others ran flocking out of their houses to the general supplication, because the place was like to come into contempt. And the women girt with sackcloth under their breasts, abounded in the streets, and the virgins that were kept in ran, some to the gates, and some to the walls, and others looked out of the windows, and all holding their hands towards heaven made supplication. Then it would have pitied a man to see the falling down of the multitude of all sorts, and the fear of the high priest being in such an agony, that they call upon the Almighty Lord to keep the things committed of trust safe and sure for those that had committed them. Nevertheless, Elodorus executed that which was decreed. Now, as he was there present himself with his guard about the treasury, the Lord of spirits and the Prince of all power caused a great apparition, so that all that presumed to come in with him were astonished at the power of God, and fainted, and were sore afraid. For there appeared unto them an horse with a terrible rider upon him, and adorned with a very fair covering. And he ran fiercely, and smote at Elidorus with his feet, with his 4 feet. And it seemed that he that sat upon the horse had complete harness of gold. Moreover, 2 other young men appeared before him, notable in strength, excellent in beauty, and comely in apparel, who stood by him on either side, and scourged him continually, and gave him many sore stripes. So this was what was happening. When him come in the temple now to take away the money, this was what was happening on the spiritual side. A rider on a horse appeared, and the horse, and the stamp after him with him 4 foot, with his front legs. And 2 other men now, young men, appeared to him and beat him, spiritual beating them get him. And Elidorus fell suddenly onto the ground, and was compassed with great darkness. But they that were with him took him up, and put him into a litter. Thus him that lately came with a great train, and with all his guard, into the said treasury, they carried out, being unable to help himself with his weapon, and manifestly they acknowledge the power of God. So him get spiritual beating till him weak, have him sword upon him side, but him couldn't drive. For he by the hand of God was cast down, and lay speechless, without all hope of life. But they praise the Lord, that had miraculously honored his own place. For the temple, which a little afore was full of fear and trouble, when the Almighty Lord appeared, was filled with joy and gladness. Then straightways certain of Elodorus' friends prayed on I.S., that he would call upon the Most High to grant him his life, who lay ready to give up the gold. So Elidorus, now the man who was the treasurer for the king, when he go in a temple now to confiscate the money, the gold and the silver, he was struck spiritually, but of course it affected him physically. But his own friends now come to the high priest and said, we are beg you, pray for him, that him not dead. So the high priest, suspecting lest the king should misconceive that some treachery had been done to Elidorus by the Jews, offered a sacrifice for the health of the man. Now, as the high priest was making an atonement, the same young men in the same clothing appeared and stood beside Elidorus, saying, Give Ananias the high priest great thanks, in so much as for his sake the Lord hath granted thee life. And seeing that thou hast been scourged from heaven, declare unto all men the mighty power of God. And when they had spoken these words, they appeared no more. So these men came manifesting from the spiritual realm unto this wicked man now, who was sent by the king. and he was scourged, beaten spiritually, beaten next to death. He was gonna die. Then the high priest prayed for him, and those same two men said, "You better thank the high priest that they petition for you for the Lord to save you. Now go and tell the people what has happened here today." Then testified he to all men the works of the great God, which he had seen with his eyes. Verse 37. And when King Elidorus, who might be a fit man to be sent yet once again to Jerusalem, so Elidorus go back now and them now send him back to Jerusalem again. Here, this is what he said. If thou hast any enemy or traitor, send him go over there. If you have an enemy or a traitor, you send them. And thou shalt receive him well scourged. You shall get him. So in other words now, Elidorus now, the king was sending him back to Jerusalem after him recover. And him tell the king, say, yo, if you have an enemy or a traitor, you send him go on to Jerusalem, and he shall come back to you well beaten. So in other words, you don't like that man, send him to Jerusalem and then make him get beaten. And that is if he escape with his life. For in that place, no doubt, there is an especial power of God. In that place, there is a God. For he that dwelleth in heaven hath his eye on that place, and defendeth it. And he beateth and destroyeth them that come to hurt it. Verse 40. And the things concerning Elidorus and the keeping of the treasury fell out on this sort.
Oh, good.
This man decided, hey, I ain't not going back there. You send your enemy go and make him get beaten.
If I may, about that one.
Right.
That's all the people that tried to come and harm brothers in the I.S.U.P.K.
Right.
Many men right now, unalived, all enemies of Commanding General YAHANNA over the years. Number them 30. THAWADAH was the recent one. Went to prison for tax evasion and then died of COVID while in jail. Not by Commanding General YAHANNA's hand, but the Most High was in charge of life and death and health and pain. You know what I mean? Nobody don't come against UPK trying to harm no man in here. You know what I mean? Or like Abadawan said, you'll get a spiritual beating. You'll be returned home well scored. If I could even be a testimony of my own thing, I had a physical cousin, you know what I mean, who desired to hurt me a couple years ago. I mean probably 2021, and he was sent here, and he had his desires, and he get lit by one truck, man. You know what I mean? Truck licking, man. Yeah, man. You know, going to hospital for days. You know what I mean? He's my physical cousin. I grew up with him, and I love him. But you know what I mean? Certain things go on in the family politics where they don't like me being in the I.S.U.P.K. And then of course he had family beefs, and he had desired to hurt me. You know what I mean? And this you can find stories like this all over the place. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a story of Captain Thuck where some men wanted to try to take some land from his family in Trinidad. You know what I mean? And of course, you know, Captain Thuck got to go down there and give him a check. And I believe you had a story also that you told me some time back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So this is, you know, the I.S.U.P.K. is where the same God that governed Jerusalem, that power governs the I.S.U.P.K. only. You see what I'm saying? Because this is that place. God.
We're not being shot at when we go out to bring the word.
Right. You know what I mean?
And those who believe that they had overpower us, I mean, it's just that we preaching to our people, you know, stop the infighting and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, when they come upon us, you know, we have to just make the most I do his thing rather than to be out there squalling and fighting our own people. We don't want that.
God, God.
Now, had those people been another race, man, we would have thrown it down. And we know the Lord would have been with us. But, you know, when you have your own people, I mean, you have to defend yourself. I mean, the most I defend you while you are defending yourself, but, you know, you don't want, you know, they are the ones who don't know better. So you have to be like Christ. When they were crucifying Christ, Christ could have stopped it, you know. But, you know, that's why Christ said, forgive them, Lord. They know not what they do. We have to be Christ-like and say, forgive them, Father. They know not what they do. Same thing. All right, so, you know, in the time of the dedication of the temple, these are stories, you know, after the Mosai start moving with us again as a people, the things that come out, and it's going to get larger and larger, you know, more and more the Mosai as we put in the work, as no matter what the Christians tell you that it is by belief and by faith, it is by works. It said so in Revelation. By his works you shall know him, not by his belief. By his works you shall know, by their works you shall know them.
That's right. That's right.
The works that we put in, that's how you are being known by the most by man. You know, God already know who you be. And he has chosen for this day. Right? So now we're still in our feast of rededication. We don't have a temple again. So sorry, we don't have a physical building as a temple, but the temple now is the body. So here we are now celebrating the rededication of this temple to the Most High God. And we did a mighty thing yesterday. We went and clothed our Spanish brothers and sisters and their families as the ones that were homeless. We did our thing as best as we could, and the Most High, you know, see it, and you know you're going to see some greater things being spun out as a result of what happened yesterday, and greater things to come. Right? Who knows? The wars that are fighting for us to get back our land might get more intensified. You see what happened now with the Ukraine war? America is snubbing Ukraine, you know. This vote that the Republican turned down this request for a couple $1 billion to send to Ukraine for this period of time. But like we had said even in this class, that's the way it was going to happen. Ukraine was going to get thrown under the bus. America cannot afford to let Russia come out too much like a little boy in this thing, you know. He's the man with the most nuclear power. And right now, with Israel down there, if Russia get involved in that war and come behind Iran, it's going to be a total different thing down there. And that's what America is trying to prevent. So, you know, they are playing their war. It's a chess game, you know. All right, give Russia Ukraine, let him behave himself and don't come over here. So. But guess what? Israel better work fast, you know. Those Israelis, they better work fast, or they're not going to go in their favor. And we know that in the end, in the same way Gaza was at peace today and at war the next day, it's the same way this war is going to make a turn. The rest of the world is at peace today. The next day, you're going to see something different. It's going to just make a turn overnight. And you wonder, hold on. Yesterday I was going to school today I'm not going to school. What go on? Right? And here you have people in the same place that I was going for school, now sleeping in the classroom. Right? How is that? But that question now will be for those who were caught by surprise. It's not going to catch us by surprise. We expecting these things to happen. So while we are, doing our thing like everybody else daily, we don't have a feeling that we are not in the real world. We live in the real world, and we know what the real world is. Them Edens hate them one another. They want to make it seem like, oh, we're getting along. But that's the case. All right. Comments. We have to allow Officer Azab to give us the any other update. Still want you more yesterday, though.
Okay. Yeah, man. Yesterday, man, it was a glorious day, man. You know what I mean? We had also beside the so-called Latino brothers. There was. I was surprised to see many Haitians in there. Okay, Kasham, I'm coming on the screen.
Sorry.
Say hello, Kasham. Say hi.
Hi.
God. Yeah. So you had many Haitian brothers there too. You know what I mean? We had a good operation yesterday. You know what I mean? And I feel like it was a practice for a situation that could probably come on a larger scale. You know what I mean? And all these things are going to be able to train us for future operations where we have to act in the manner of such degree. But of course, the scriptures prophesy of plenty bad things to come. You know what I mean? And we got to be prepared for it. IUIC, by the way, they marched for a celebrity, right? At the Barclays Center, for an NBA basketball player, a rich man.
Right.
That's not the purpose why we went out there. We went out there to march for the thing that Christ told us to go for. We went out there to go service the poor. You know what I mean? To help down the man in decay, the downtrodden, the oppressed.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? America destroyed the Venezuelans' country, ruined their economy, ruined the economies of Haiti, like our Abu Dhabi was talking about. All that gold is now in New York. And the people of those places, the oppressed of those places, they got to come here. And what are we supposed to be? One on one with America? Holding hands in America as black and Latino men here? Nah, man, that's incorrect, man. I mean, black people and Latino people, we have to show the actions that we have no part in the destroying of these people's place and livelihood and neighborhoods. You see what I'm saying? We're in America, but we have to be completely separate from them. We have to not be in this place while we are in this place. As the scripture says, to come out of Babylon. And that is what we displayed yesterday. That we are in Babylon, but we are not with Babylon. All right?
Right. So here we are in Babylon, but not of Babylon. In Babylon, but not of Babylon. Not with Babylon.
Yeah. Or as Christ said, even better, be in the world, but not of the world.
Of the world. So that's what people talking about. Canada one can. All right. So we're gonna do the security announcement and just close up. All right. So clap it up. I.S.U.P.K security announcement. I.S.U.P.K security announcement. We are the I.S.U.P.K out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Command in General YAHANNA. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limit for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shut themselves of the world. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person he or she must be informed from the head to speak to a brother or a sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After this 6 month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithe, which is a commandment, you can find it in Numbers 18 and 21, and Malachi 3, 8 to 10. All right, so you see what we just read in Akana, kind of, where the Grecian treasurer came to Jerusalem to take away the monies that were laid up there for the fatherless children and the widows.
God.
Tithes, that was money. Gold and silver they came for. They didn't come for no sheep and no goat
Right.
and no crops. So whoever got tithes is not money, you're wrong.
Right. God.
Means tenth in Hebrew and is pronounced Ma'aishara. 10% of everything of any increase the Lord gives you is the first department of teacher. Priest fund. Free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like to give. Upcoming holy convocation. We're still in the feast of Akanaka. When we supposed to officially be out again, Officer Azab?
Okay, so the Feast of Hanukkah started on Thursday, right? So it's for 8 days. So Thursday again will be the last of the 8 days.
Right. Thursday, sundown.
Yeah, and then we light all the candles every single day. We fill them up, we light them.
I tried lighting these, but the wind. Because I was
Okay.
to incomplete the wind coming.
Okay. Con. Yeah. When the wind, con. When the wind stop, you just light that. You just give them a light. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
God.
Akim and Aquatim, you're reminded to check on social media such as ISUPK.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for I.S.U.P.K events and materials. If a brother want to be a trooper in the school, then he is to start wearing all black, which includes black boots, shirt, pants, headband, or scarf. And with that we say a medium, which means to stand. One courtesy salute to the what do I say now? To the teacher, men and female.
Saki, not to the teacher. Just a salute.
One courtesy salute,
Generally.
men and female, a medium Shabbat, a medium Barak.
Yeah, how about Shimmer Shah Bakathar?
Yahweh Shemar Shabbat Yadimata, one courtesy salute to the female, men of Israel, and Mariam Shabbat, and Mariam Barak,
How Shema about Shimmer Shah?
Yadimata, class dismissed. All right, so to our listeners, remember, pay your tithes. Go to ISUPK.com, pay your tithes so that we can take care of our widows and fatherless. All right? And we say, Shalom.
In this time of the pandemic, where COVID-19 has crippled the world economies, where our government has ordered nationwide shutdown, where hospitals are overwhelmed.
Shortly after, the unthinkable happened.
I was literally stunned and frozen.
And their religious leaders are proven to be frauds. Where do you go to get all your questions answered and to hear what God has to say about this matter? You can only find the answers in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under Commanding General YAHANNA. We give you scriptural breakdowns of world events and the up and coming world war. We will show you in the Bible where the children of Israel were the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans today would suffer slavery in Jamaica, Caribbean, North, Central, and South America, and other parts of the world. We will show you in the Bible where God said He would send plagues upon the earth before He frees people from this captivity.
The World Health Organization has declared coronavirus a global pandemic.
We will give you the true teaching of the Bible, precept upon precept. To learn more, subscribe today and call the number in the description for I.S.U.P.K Jamaica. Shalom.